Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is another analog photography video with some 35mm pictures that I got back. This is from my trip recently to Australia, so it was in November but it's their summertime, so that's why the images are quite summery. I was using a Kodak 200 ISO colour film and my snap camera, so the images aren't super crisp, which is probably a combination of the film and the camera. I thought the low ISO would be okay because I correctly predicted that it would be very sunny and bright while we were there. It's so hard at the moment to get hold of colour film, so it was pretty expensive. If you've noticed, colour film at the moment is like getting extortionate, but I think there's a worldwide shortage of colour film, so I was pretty lucky to get hold of some. I managed to do one roll of colour film and one roll of black and white with the same snap camera. I did take my Diana camera, but it's a little bit bulkier to take out and about. It doesn't really fit in my pocket or anything, and the pictures are, well, the camera itself is just less reliable. It's less reliable just at winding the film on, so you don't really know if you've taken the picture or if you've just wasted your whole time thinking you've taken a whole roll of pictures when actually nothing's actually happened. So this is a selfie, and it's not a bad selfie for using an analog camera. Usually they're pretty terrible. I sensibly faced away from the sun. Normally I'm squinting into the camera, and you can see the bridge, the famous Sydney Bridge in the background there, so that's kind of fun. Oh, a quick one of my boyfriend there, and then back to the bridge. This isn't the most orchestrated picture. I don't think that I framed this very well with the weird fence on the side and then the other fence across the bottom. Oh, and this one is particularly lovely. This is actually Cockatoo Island, which is a little island that we went to in Sydney, or off the harbour, off the coast, and it's called Cockatoo Island, but it is like basically the only place in Sydney that had 0 cockatoos. The name is very misleading, so just to pre-warn you, if you are planning to go to Cockatoo Island, there are no cockatoos there. I think this is also Cockatoo Island, but just a view of Sydney from the island. Oh, here we go. Here's another selfie, and you can see, like, normally I'm like squinting into the camera when I do my selfies, so probably the sunglasses in the previous one actually helped. This is when we went to the Blue Mountains, which was about 2.5 hours on the train from Sydney. Really cheap though. It cost like $5 or something to get there on the train, and then we went hiking. Unfortunately, there'd been quite a lot of landslides because they've had quite a lot of flooding recently, so a lot of the trails were closed, or at least partially closed, so the route that we were going to walk we weren't able to do, which was a bit disappointing, so we had to rethink. The first day that we went there, we did a little bit of walking and it was nice, but we left kind of early because we didn't have enough time or energy to do the longer walks that we had left. So we actually then decided, because it was actually fairly straightforward to get there and quite cheap, that we would go back a second day. So we actually went back a second day. It was very sunny, it was pretty hot, but it was not as warm as it had been in the centre of Sydney, and this was our second week when the weather had cooled off anyway, and it was actually really windy, which is not surprising, I suppose, when you're standing on top of a mountain. So in the wind it was really chilly, which my coat was going on off. So here you can see some of these waves. I think this is probably off the coast of Manly Beach. We went to Manly and went to the beach, but we also did it's a fantastic picture of my hand, and also I think Manly Beach, although that may be the coastal walk from Bondi Beach to I think we went all the way to Coogee Beach down the east coast. Now this is definitely Bondi Beach. It's a much bigger beach than Manly. The waves were pretty intense. It was pretty hot and sunny, and we did go out. Oh, this is Bondi, yeah. We did go out and go swimming, but it was super wavy, and I did get like knocked over a couple of times. The worst part actually was I went into the water, I came back out, got dried off and everything, and then decided to go back in for one more splash, but the but the wind was whipping up and was blowing the water into your face as well as the wave itself, so you kind of got the wave twice. And then when we were on the beach, the sand was being blown into our faces. So it was fun and it was a good experience, and I'm glad that I can say I've been to Bondi Beach. But it was so windy. You can see why there's loads of surfers, and the waves were like could be getting pretty intense in certain areas. Obviously we only went swimming in the area that was marked by the flags, which is going to be the calmest bit, I guess. This is a cathedral that was opposite the Australian Museum, so we went to the museum, and then I wanted to have a look at the cathedral because it just looked really nice. It has this water area out the front and this like wooden walkway through the water, and then you get to go down some stairs and then you get to the cathedral. You can kind of see a Christmas tree there as well. It was super weird because it was so sunny and hot, and it just felt like it was July in Spain. But then there was Christmas trees and some Christmas decorations up everywhere, and it was really, really like confusing my brain that I couldn't quite put the two things together. There you go. So that's the Christmas tree, and it was the same style Christmas tree we saw over and over again. So clearly the Sydney local government, or whoever it is that's in charge of putting Christmas trees up in Sydney, just got loads of the same ones and they just stick them up everywhere. So this is what we saw. Oh, these I think they're called jacaranda trees, and they have really pretty purple blossoms. They were absolutely everywhere. I think they're not native. I think they're from Argentina. I may have misremembered that, but they were so pretty, and I absolutely loved them. And I was just taking pictures of them. I've got so many pictures. I have to say they don't look as vibrant in these pictures as they do in the ones that I took with my phone. The phone does tend to like juice up the colour, and I think the analog pictures just don't quite capture all of it. Everything a little bit washed out. But yeah, I absolutely loved them, and they're my favourite thing about maybe my favourite thing about Sydney. I really love like cherry blossom, and so yeah, the jacaranda blossom was really, really beautiful. It's funny because it's not native. So this is Manly Beach. So I think these pictures are actually backwards because we went to Manly Beach before we went to Bondi Beach, but this is Manly, and we went to the beach. We also did a walk. We did kind of a hike around Manly, which was really nice, and I'm glad I did it, but it was very hot. That's when the weather was still really toasty, and it was a weekend, so it was like super busy going to Manly. Like the ferry was busy, and actually the ferry coming back, there was a massive queue just to get into the ferry like terminal, then to get onto the ferry. So we missed a couple of ferries before we were able to get home, but it wasn't too bad. But just when you're hot and you're tired, and I was covered in like seawater, my clothes were like soaking wet. It all soaked through my shorts, and it wasn't super great. It's the smell of the seawater was pretty gross as well. Just on me, it was fine when we went out and it's in the water. But yes, we did go to the beach, and I did go for a splish splash in Manly Beach. Manly Sea as well was also quite wavy, quite windy, and again you can see why people like to go surfing around there. So that's the end of the roll. If you've liked the video, please give me a like, and if you would like to see more, please subscribe.